Welcome to Wild of the World, and in this episode you're still with me in South Australia. This here is the city of Adelaide.
Yeah!
High five.
Oh yes, we're doing the big lap around Australia.
And we're making this road trip with this awesome 4x4 camper van of WA experts. I say let's go.
Previously we showed you Victoria, with the first stop being nature paradise Wilson's Prom. Next up we hit the big city, and we truly loved Melbourne. Then we started driving the south coast as we took you along the world-famous Great Ocean Road. We drove the entire 243 kilometers full of wonders, from Torquay to Warrnambool.
And this is symbolic because this is where the rest of our South Australia road trip begins, all the way to Perth. It's pizza time! The Great Ocean Road was fantastic, but we got no time to waste because we're delivering this camper van in Perth, so we got a long route to go all the way along the south coast of Australia. And this is Mount Gambier where we slept. It was pretty cold last night, now the sun is shining, and we're moving up to Robe and then to Adelaide, the big city, before we start our road trip along the south coast all the way to Perth.
I can truly recommend this place for the peace and quietness.
Here in South Australia, we don't only have kangaroos and koalas, we also have alpacas. You see them everywhere. Look who's just up and all ready for this road trip. What are you watching? Penguins of Madagascar.
It turns out South Australia's roads are very idyllic in general, as we drive to the coastal town south of Adelaide, Robe.
Robe is a small fishing town on the limestone coast in South Australia. Since the 1800s this has been an international port when first the Chinese immigrants came here to go and look for gold in Australia. Nowadays it's a perfect holiday destination because of the perfect beaches, there is some history, there's a laid-back culture, and it's also good for fishing.
We look up a nice playground at the beach, soak up some history in the cozy colonial streets, and are amazed by the blue water surrounding this picture-perfect beach town. Especially the cliffs at the lighthouse are a good example of the rugged nature we can find in South Australia.
So I'm wondering if you still see the influence of the Chinese immigrants in the 1800s here in Robe. I guess you do, because they have only 1500 inhabitants and they do have a Chinese restaurant.
The local shops of Robe are very interesting and offer all kinds of specialties and crafts. And after Robe, it's back to no man's land.
So I did know that Australia had a lot of camels because they were brought over here to cross the desert in the past, but I never actually saw them somewhere. So over here I found some of them. They're actually dromedaries.
Did you know that not Egypt or Mongolia, but Australia has the largest population of camels in the world? They were first brought here from the Canary Islands in 1840, and the number is estimated to be 1 million. It's actually quite shocking that the population still doubles every 9 years at the moment. For us, this is only the first time that we see them, and they are such beautiful creatures.
How awesome!
Closer to Adelaide, we find more wonderful nature as the landscape starts to look like another planet.
On our way to Adelaide, we drive through the Coorong National Park. And in that national park we find a lot of lakes, some blue ones, some green ones and some pink ones. This is the Coorong Pink Lake. How incredible! A salt lake with a pink color.
Australia has many colored lakes, some more vibrant in color than others. It's the microbes inside the salt lakes that cause the incredible shades of pink. In other countries, this is actually what causes flamingos to be pink. Not too far north we find the next one, called Meningi's Pink Lake. Road trips tend to make a man hungry.
It's getting so big!
And when it gets dark, we find the perfect spot in the woods.
Wow, it's chilly. We went all the way to Adelaide last night, but we couldn't find a good campsite. They were or closed or fully booked. So we had to find a spot out in the nature. So in Bridgewater, just outside of town, in the woods, we slept here. It was perfect. It was quiet, under the stars and the smell of the woods. We woke up with the dew on the grass. And now it's very cold, but we're ready for a nice city trip in Adelaide. And maybe you saw them over there in the background, but there is wildlife. Some alpacas. Okay, not wild, but they're nice.
We exchanged the woods for the city life, and in all that nature, suddenly the fifth biggest metropolitan area of Australia rises at the horizon. For a city with a population over 1 million, this city feels quite relaxed and spacious. We drive straight into town in no time on a Friday morning.
Adelaide is the capital of South Australia and it's also the fifth city in population in all of Australia. It has 1.4 million people, and that's a lot considering the entire state of South Australia has only 1.8 million. We're gonna see some sights and we start here right in the middle. This is Victoria Square. There she is in the middle, Queen Victoria.
The British flag still represents the only free settlement of the British in Australia, where all the other states were mainly used to deport prisoners.
Adelaide is well known for the culture, the festivals, some of the best restaurants in Australia and a lot of wineries. It's also been awarded the name UNESCO City of Music in Australia in 2015. Adelaide is often called the 20-minute city because with the public transport you can get anywhere in town within 20 minutes. And it's also called the city of churches because it has so many of them.
This beautiful church is the Francis Xavier Cathedral.
Adelaide is a city with a lot of cultures and it also has some history with Chinese immigrants in the 19th century. So for that it's also nice to make a little stroll through Chinatown.
Chinatown is just a small section in the city center, but it really feels like I left Australia and entered Asia.
Adelaide got its name from King William IV in 1836. He was at the time the King of Great Britain and named the city after his wife, the Queen.
And all over town we still see buildings from that time. Time to explore the modern side of the city with all the tall skyscrapers and hip neighborhoods.
Somehow this reminds me a bit of Singapore. The art trees. Awesome.
Here we see Australia's fourth biggest stadium, the Adelaide Oval, used for cricket and Aussie rules football. And on the other side of the River Torrens we find St. Peter's Cathedral. This is the Government House, where the governors of South Australia have lived since 1840.
So I was looking where you can find the best view on the city, and it's just across the water from the theatre building. And there's an Asian festival going on. Festival city, I told you before. Really nice.
At last we pay a visit to the art district of Adelaide, with the most important museums.
Today we drove from Adelaide all the way to Port Augusta, which was about 2 hours. And from here we'll be driving down the coast to a beautiful coastal town called Whyalla. So we needed a place to stay, and I think this will do fine for the night. It's on Wikicamps. What a beautiful place.
Subscribe and be sure to watch next time as we explore South Australia with incredible nature and wildlife. Ciao!